What's happening, everyone? This is Encyclopedia Mac doing my next album review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Ultimate Jackie Wilson two-disc compilation on Jackie Wilson. And first of all, I want to say Jackie Wilson, definitely a pioneer in the music industry, one of the best singer entertainers ever. I think pound for pound, the best singer of all time as far as singer in popular music. I haven't seen anybody that can touch him at this time. I'm talking about a man who can literally go up and down the scales, go from literally the baritone bass register to he was an operatic tenor and they can like hit the notes in the female register, like do it all on command. Just God given talents, nothing to say. Unfortunately, very underrated, very influential. You know, whether consciously or subconsciously, people that came, after him, or even people to this day, took something from him, whether they know it or not, because he's influenced so many people. Everybody from Michael Jackson to Elvis. Like even when Michael Jackson won the Grammys for Thriller, I think Jackie had passed by the time. He sent him a special shout out. That kind of reignited the interest. But and also not only a great singer, one of the most dynamic performers ever. You heard seen some of his live performances on TV. Those are captivating, and they said like according to writers and people like that, you see him live, like it was almost as energetic as like a James Brown show. He's sliding across the floor and dropping to his knees and doing the splits and doing somersaults sometime and like falling off the stage, sweating and everything. From that's what I've heard from like interviewers and people that saw him and his colleagues. Like this dude was a powerhouse performer. He's definitely one of the people that you didn't want to have to come behind. So he really had the entire package. Like I said, I'm gonna be reviewing the two-disc compilation, but what I'm gonna first do, like I do with most of my other videos, I'm gonna give you a short bio on his life. Um, Jackie Wilson, born on June 9th of 1934 in Detroit, Michigan. He was born and raised in Detroit. His actual name is Jack Leroy Wilson Jr. Is the son of Jack Leroy Wilson Sr., his father, and his mother, Eliza May Wilson. As the story goes, I've been reading that his mom was a great gospel singer. She's the one that first got him into singing as a young age. So he started singing gospel at a real young age. So she got him started with that. During his teens, he started singing with the local group called the Ever Ready Gospel Singers. They were just kind of making their rounds around the town. Jackie, got into some trouble as a juvenile delinquent. Been hanging on the street corners. Unfortunately, began drinking at an early age, around 8 or 9. As the story goes, his father was an alcoholic and a wino. Used to just bring him out in the corners with him, had him drinking at an early age. So he might have started him with that addiction at a young age. He was also in a gang called the Shakers. If you all read the Temptations book by Otis Williams, he talked about the gang, the Shakers, and of course gangs were different back then. It's like well, nobody's going to get killed, but mostly like maybe like stealing from people, maybe beating people up, just hanging out, not going to school, stuff like that. I guess if it got real bad, the blade might come out. That's about all that's going to happen. Um, and when he got a little bit older, I think around 15, 16, he had started boxing. And as the story goes, he was a Golden Gloves. I think he's a Golden Gloves champion. Golden Gloves is just a local, uh, title you get. But what he learned from boxing is what he incorporated the footwork into his dancing style. If you notice, like when you see him on TV, it's like he's real loud on his feet, sliding across the floor, kind of bouncing and things like that. That's what they teach you in boxing. If they teach you how to, you have to be loud on your feet and move around. So that became he used that as a part of his dancing style. Um, but as the story goes, he said that his mother, I think, saw him take some pretty good hits in the ring one day when she came to see him. So she told him like, like you got to quit boxing, and he was too young too, so that wasn't gonna work. Jackie at a young age felt like schooling wasn't gonna get him where he needed to be. He wanted to sing, so he just left school alone. So he dropped out at age 15. Allegedly, Jackie was kind of wild as a young kid. Allegedly, he had a bunch of kids at a young age. Like allegedly, maybe up to maybe 6 or 7 kids as a as a young man. I don't know, who knows, but allegedly. Actually, the first time he married, his his first wife Frida Hood, he married her at age 17 because he had got her pregnant, and out of wedlock births were a taboo back then, so they had to get married to because because he got her pregnant. I think she was like he was 17 at the time. I think she was either 16 or 17, so they had to get married to kind of get that situated. And then he was obviously he was uh, paying dues at the time, just doing different talent shows in Detroit with Levi Stubbs. A lot of people don't know that's his cousin from the Four Tops. Levi Stubbs is his cousin, and also Little Willie John, excuse me, who was also just making the ranks at the time. He got his first break in about 1952 at age 18. He recorded a song called "The Rainy Day Blues" on DG Records. DG Records was an independent label founded in Detroit by jazz legend Mr. Dizzy Gillespie. He also recorded, I think it's his first time on record, he recorded Danny Boy. I think he recorded it three other times. I think another time with the Dominoes and two other times solo, but that was the first time he ever recorded it. And Danny Boy was actually his favorite song, and that's a song that he sang to get his first deal with Brunswick at a later time. But yeah, he was on DG Records. He's actually recording under Sonny Wilson. So if you look it up, you'll see it under Sonny Wilson. That was his nickname as a kid, Sonny Wilson. Nickname his mom called him all the time. In 1953, he was asked by Billy Ward to join the Dominoes, the group Billy Ward and the Dominoes. This was after Clyde McPhatter left, and Clyde formed the group The Drifters, a legendary group. Billy Ward might be the man most responsible for Jackie's versatility and overall vocal style, because he's the one that took Jackie to the next level as far as singing. Obviously, Jackie was a talented singer, but he taught him diction, phrasing, and he said that Billy Ward worked at Carnegie Hall, and he actually is the one who taught him to sing opera. He trained to sing opera for about 2 years, so he had Jackie ready for everything. He sang opera and everything else. But as Billy Ward, I think, is the man most responsible for Jackie, really learning how to be a complete, a versatile singer, how to sing truly everything. And he was the lead singer for Billy Ward and the Dominoes for about 3 years. The only hit he had with them was a song called Saint Teresa of the Roses. That was the only hit he had. After 3 years, he decided, it's time to move on. So he broke away from them and decided just to go solo. His manager Al Green got him a deal with Brunswick Records, and not the R&B singer Al Green. It was another guy in Detroit named Al Green, who was his manager. And Jackie was actually the only artist at the time on Brunswick, and Brunswick was a subsidiary of Decca Records in the States. Unfortunately, Al Green died, I believe, just after he signed his contract with Brunswick, so that left Jackie without a manager. So Nat Tarnapool became Jackie's manager. Nat actually later became president of Brunswick, so he became Jackie's manager. It was kind of getting things going for him. Around this time, Jackie and Nat had met Berry Gordy. As the story goes, Berry Gordy's sister worked at, I'm not sure if it was Anna Gordy or one of the other sisters. I can't remember, but it might have been Anna. I think it might have been Anna Gordy, the lady who married Marvin Gaye later on. But she was working at a local club that Jackie either performed at before, or either he hung out at, or both. But I think she kind of just put the word out, hey, my brother's writing songs, and he's looking for somebody to work with. So they connected like that. And Berry Gordy and Billy Davis, Billy Roquel Davis, who's also Lawrence Payton's cousin. Lawrence Payton for the Four Tops, that's his cousin. Him and Berry Gordy had a great run with Jackie. They wrote and produced his first 7 hits on Brunswick. So that they got things started in '57 out the gate. Jackie's first song was first hit, charting single, was Reet Petite, Finest Girl You Ever Want to Meet. It went to number 6 on the UK charts, and then went to number 62 on the pop charts. Right after that, '57, it came with To Be Loved, or Smooth Ballad. That went to number 7 on the R&B charts and 22 on the pop charts. And And then in '58 he had the big one, "Lonely Teardrops," which went to number one R&B, his first many R&B number ones. That went to seven on the pop charts. Like I said, it was a million seller, big hit for him. If you all have heard the original version was ballad, and then I'm not sure who decided to make it the up tempo version that we hear today. Um, but it was actually a ballad, a slow down ballad at first. But that worked for them. Yeah, they kept going. Kept having hits. In 1959, Barry Gordy and Billy Davis stopped writing and producing for Jackie Wilson because there's a couple of reasons. One reason was back in the days, on the records you had the A side and the B side of a record. Now, um, Brunswick was splitting the money with Barry and Billy Davis. Now, they would, Barry Gordy was, and Billy Davis, they were writing and producing the A side, which were the hits, and then Brunswick was putting on the B side, whatever one could say. The B side is just like filler, but they were still splitting the money. So Barry was like, hey, like my songs are the songs that are getting sold. So we shouldn't split the money. Let's just don't just throw some filler on the B side and then split the money. Let me get more of a percentage since my songs are the hits, or let me get an A and B side. And they wouldn't do that, so he decided to leave. And also, as the story goes, I think they said like he wasn't, even for the song hits he did write, he wasn't getting paid properly, so he said, hey, I'm out. Him and Jackie was still cool. It was just I guess a business decision at that time. And of course, we know Gordy went on to form Motown, and we know how much of a legendary label Motown became, so that worked out for him in the end. Jackie kept rolling. He kept having hits, at the time. You better know it. In 1960, he hit everybody with, kind of a left hook that they weren't expecting, with "Night." And actually his biggest pop hit. It went to number 3 on the R&B charts and 4 pop charts. It was different because he sang. This is where his training came in handy. He sang the entire song. It's an opera song. He sang the entire song in operatic range. So it just took everybody left field because they didn't know that he could do this. It just shows how much of a talent he was. And around this time, around 1960, 62, Jackie became a regular favorite on television. Your Ed Sullivan, Shindigs, American Bandstand, shows like that. Ed Sullivan had him on the show, I believe, first in 1960. And Ed Sullivan loved him the first time he heard his voice. And Ed Sullivan had him back on the show about more or pretty close to more than any other solo performer. He was on there like close to 10 times, like 6, 7 times, something like that. Even when he didn't have hits, Ed would have him back to perform. So that's how much Ed Sullivan liked him, and that was a big feat. You made it to Ed Sullivan. You made it. In 1961, February 1961, unfortunately, he had gotten shot by a woman. There are conflicting stories, but as the story goes, he was dating this other lady at the time, and they were going back to his apartment, and this other lady came. Now, whether she was intentionally trying to shoot Jackie or she said, hey, you're cheating on me and I want to kill myself, one of the two things happened, and they tussled and the gun went off and he got shot. And one of the bullets lodged so close to his spine that they couldn't operate. He had to keep it in his body for the rest of his life. So that was a scary situation, but luckily he made it, and he was in ICU for about a month and a half, and then he recovered, got out. In 1962, he played New York's famed Copacabana Club, and that was another big feat for him because that was the standard for the industry. Like I was saying before with other artists, you weren't, you didn't want to be relegated to the Chitlin circuit. I mean, you do what you have to do, but those supper clubs, that's easy money, and Copacabana was it didn't get any bigger. So he went there and tore the roof off the place. Brunswick actually released Copa album the same year, and it's fantastic. You want to just Jackie's one of these people who can his records sound just like anything he can do on the record he did live. Like I said before, hey, I love, hey, David Ruffin's my man, Levi Stubbs is my man, Marvin Gaye's my man, but How Doja Holland and people like that, they had them recording in those high keys. When you hear it live, the keys are lower. And I think out of the three, Levi's the closest, but Jackie Wilson, I mean, he's singing in all those high key on the records, and he's singing those high keys on his live songs too, on the live album. And like I said, he comes from an era where everything was live. Talking about back in the 50s, early 60s, that's the way technology was. It's like everybody recorded at once, so it wasn't time to do a bunch of retakes and things like that. You had to get it right. I mean, if you messed up, you had to start all over. So you had to make sure everything was crisp. So it wasn't stopping the tape, singing this high key, let me catch your breath and start the tape again. Everything had to be precise. But like I said, he went to the Copa, killed. He did a great job there. They loved everything he did. He did so well they had already booked him for shows like a year and 2 years in advance. This is how well he did there. So he was back there after that. As far as hit wise, in 61, 62, things got a little bit slower. Had some minor hits, but nothing big. He came back in 1963 with the up tempo R&B hit "Baby Work Out," big comeback hit. That went to that was another one of his R&B number one hits, and then I went to number five on the pop charts. So he that was, I think that was another gold single, I believe. Right. Then after that, he had about had about 3 more years. 3 years after that were pretty slow. Like I said, just minor hits, but nothing really spectacular. And about 1966, Brunswick realized they needed a change of pace with Jackie. Music was changing, and your Motowns, your Atlantic Records, your Stax Records, places like that started to become R&B, more kind of quote unquote rougher edge R&B started to become the standard, and maybe some of the stuff Jackie was doing, maybe they felt was kind of played out, or whatever the case may be. So they feel like he needed a change of pace. So they got with producer Carl Davis in Chicago and asked him to produce some songs for Jackie. And him and Jackie met up. He said they hit it off from the moment they met. So he's like, yeah, sure, I'll work with him. So he sent Jackie to Chicago, and they began working together for a few years. And the chemistry was there from the beginning. And actually, what Carl Davis did, he actually got sent for the Funk Brothers from Detroit to play instrumentation on a lot of the songs that him and Jackie did together. So if you listen to songs like Higher and Higher and Whispers, and if it sounds like a Motown song, it really is. The Funk Brothers, they were the Motown's band, and they weren't like James Brown's band. With James Brown's band, they had to, everything was James Brown. Like they were the same artists that recorded with him, that were his band on the road, and they were also the same musicians that were him in the studio. So all over wherever James went to perform or record, they were his only band. They really couldn't make money outside of that. With the Funk Brothers, Barry Gordy paid them, a salary to, do the instrumentation for the artists on Motown, but then they were able to still play on other artists' songs and still play at clubs and whatever around the area to make money too. So they weren't just stuck with just only recording for Motown. So so I mean, they backed a lot of these songs. So like I said, everything was good. Everything started moving with Carl Davis in 1966. He had a big hit with Whispers, which went to number 5 on the R&B chart. Then went to number 11 on the pop chart. And then he had the big one, 1967. Your Love Keeps Lifting Me Higher and Higher. Jackie had another number 1 R&B hit, and that went to number 6 on the pop chart. Another smash hit record for him. That might Higher and Higher and Lonely Teardrops were like Jackie's most recognizable songs. So everybody was satisfied with the results, and it became a classic. One of the all-time great R&B songs. So they started working together. Had a couple more hits. I think the market started changing. Jackie had personal issues. I kind of get into that a little bit later on, and I don't think he wasn't really promoted properly at the time by Brunswick, so he really didn't have any too many more hits. His last hit was 1970. This Love Is Real. I Can Feel Those Vibrations. That was his last hit in 1970. That went to number 9 on the R&B chart. And that was basically his last hit while he was recording. I said Jackie had several personal issues. Like I already talked about the shooting, a lot of financial issues. Unfortunately, I think around the time he had gotten shot, he had realized what was going on financially. Um, the IRS, back taxes. His house was seized, and him and his family had to move out their house. I think he ended up buying it back later, but that's kind of when a lot of the financial difficulties that he was, going through kind of, came to the surface, unfortunately. And a lot of it, he was mismanaged, by Brunswick, even to the point that even after, Jackie had his accident in 1976, Brunswick got sued. They got brought up on tax evasion charges, and it was found out that um, they owed Jackie like hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars that this they never paid him. Like I said, the money that they made it wasn't even on the books. They just like discounted it. So unfortunately, Jackie got ripped off, and like I said, a lot of artists at that time got taken advantage of, and Jackie was one of them, unfortunately. Um, because he should have been a millionaire with all the hits that he had, and that's kind of the one of the reasons why maybe he didn't have much more success than he was supposed to. And also another thing was another reason was his label Brunswick was actually mob controlled, and not, I mean the real mob. The real mafia controlled his label, so they kind of kept their finger on. I'm sure in certain circumstances, they protected him, but they kind of kept their thumb on you. If they felt, you did whatever they asked you to do, and that's just the way it went. Um, maybe in some circumstances, for what I read, maybe they prefer just him performing instead of him maybe expanding. Just they want the cash and just kind of leave it at that. So, and as the story goes, if you all have seen the movie The Five Heartbeats, remember that scene where there was that artist that stepped to the owner, the big red records, with the owner Big Red, how that guy was asking him about some money, and they beat the guy up pretty bad and hung him out the window. Evidently, that was really what happened to Jackie Wilson. As the story goes, he wanted to, I think his contract was up, and he wanted to sign with another label because any label would kill to have him. There's no question about it. I'm sure Barry Gordy would have loved to have him on Motown. That would have been a great marriage between those two. Because like I said, they were always still, even though Barry stopped recording for him, they were still cool. But as it was told, like the mob actually hung Jackie out the window, by his feet. It was like, hey, either you signed or plot. And of course he signed, so they kind of had him under his thumb, so that was a bad thing. Jackie had like a bunch of other personal issues. Was married, once, and married twice and divorced once. Child support issues and things like that. He was, he had a lot of other women on the side, so a lot of that didn't happen. A lot of that was, a distraction too. And unfortunately, also Jackie, was, was abusive to his body. It was, just he was an alcoholic, a heavy drinker, was addicted to cocaine. By the mid '60s, he had a full blown habit. Um, also a heavy smoker, so he didn't take care of himself. And as you see, like in his later appearances, you see like how it just made him look. And it's from what you read, like his performances started getting bad. He couldn't do the things he used to do. And also you can tell just the way it looked, it kind of just dragged him down. Unfortunately, that stuff just catches up with you. A lot of personal issues with his family too. He had a son, I think that was 16, that got killed in Detroit. He was on a neighbor's porch, and I think they thought he was a drug dealer that they knew, and somebody killed him on the porch. And I think later on he had a daughter that died of a heart attack, and another daughter that was somewhere in Detroit. I'm not sure if a drug dealer or some like mistaken identity or something. Somebody killed her. So a lot of personal issues going on in his family. In September, Jackie was always performing during these years. So I mean, his hit records had stopped, but he was always performing, so he could always he could always perform someplace. So in September 9th of 1975, Dick Clark was having a rock and roll review. They went on tour. Jackie was on tour. Him and Dick Clark knew each other a long time. So Dick Clark had him on the rock and roll review tour in I believe it was Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And Jackie actually had a heart attack on stage. It fell back, boom, and hit his head. And initially, like, because Jackie, even at an older age, he was still, moving around as a performer and that kind of thing. They thought it was a part of the show, but then they realized, like, whoa, like this is serious. So they got some help for him. Finally, he collapsed on stage, but unfortunately, it was, he hit his head so hard, and also he had a lack of oxygen, so he actually had went into a coma. And unfortunately, he had permanent brain damage, and basically he was a vegetable, and kind of was in the nursing home, just kind of withered away. This picture of him in a nursing home, just he just looked bad. He couldn't do anything. He had to have people feed him and put his clothes on and everything else. He was just he couldn't do anything himself anymore. It's completely relying on other people. That's just how it went, and he just unfortunately just withered away in the nursing homes. It's sad to see with such a dynamic entertainer with that was so full of life at one point. So he was in the in that state for about I think about 8 or 9 years, 7 years, something like that. And unfortunately, he died in 1984 from pneumonia. People that have those medical issues like that. There's so many. You stay in the bed. Your immune system shuts down, and a lot of other sicknesses can kind of easily go in. Things like that. So he passed in 1984 at age 49, and that's sadly even in death that's kind of where more of the financial realities really set in, because he died in a pauper's grave. He didn't have enough money for his headstone. Fortunately for him, the fans donated money to have him, give him a proper headstone. And while he was in the nursing home, his mom had passed at the time. Him and his mom were always real close, so they actually buried him and his mom side by side and had a proper tombstone. Very nice. It says no more lonely teardrops. I think it was made with marble. Very 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 nice. Gesture for him. And posthumously, Jackie was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987. Of course, well deserved. And in 2013, he was inducted into the R&B Music Hall of Fame. So he's still sadly underrated, but he did get his credit in some ways. Right. So now I'm going to get into the album review. This is the Ultimate Jackie Wilson 2-disc compilation. It was released in 2006. It's a career summary CD, 44 tracks all together. All the big hits are here, so anybody that's just getting into Jackie Wilson, you want to make sure you have all the big hits are here, all of them. Nothing's missing as far as any of his big hits. The album cuts, you might have to find those on their own if there's some album cuts that you really enjoy. But all the all the big hits are there, from the late 50s to about 1973. It's not in chronological order. The sequence of songs are kind of mixed up, but they pretty much do a good job of separating it. Like this one is pretty much his late 50s to early 60s material, and then this two is his late 60s to early 70s material. My personal favorite songs are Lonely Teardrops, Reap Petite, To Be Loved, I'll Be Satisfied. Those are some of my personal favorites. But like I said, people have their own favorites too. I also like I understand, like I'm a big fan of Jackie. I understand what they were trying to do, like as far as the label. That's why they had him recording all different types of material. Cause like, hey, this guy's bigger than just R&B. We want to have him recording everything. I actually enjoy those songs, like his operatic songs, like Night and Alone at Last and My Empty Arms. Like I enjoy those songs too. A lot of people didn't care for those. Like I enjoy those songs, and like I said, it shows how much of a just talent Jackie is. I mean, I don't know too many singers that can sing opera. I mean, he really could have been an opera singer in another life. He's just that talented. It's just incredible. But definitely a highlight, besides the other songs and other songs that you like, Danny Boy. This is the second time he had recorded it solo. I think he recorded it the first time solo on either his first or second album. I think that first album, I think it's He's So Fine, I think it is. But the second one, that's the magic one, because like everything was intensified. The instrumentation is better. It's called Danny Boy version 2. If you listen to it, it's the one that when the record starts, you hear the strings like ding, like starting out. So that's the one to check out. This is if you want to know like what Jackie can do. Like that's his, to me, that's his magnum opus as far as vocally, because it's the combination of everything. Like he's singing in the operatic keys on that song. He's going down to the baritone bass register. He's going up to the female register, hitting the high note. So he's kind of mixed up everything in his own interpretation. Like this is the best version of Danny Boy I've ever heard. Like I can't hear another version of Danny Boy after this one. So definitely a highlight. And Jackie, he definitely has a unique ability that even if he's covering the song to make it his own. So there's quite a few covers on this album as well. You don't know me, over the Rainbow, Georgia on My Mind, um, the ballad For Once in My Life, the Frank Sinatra hit My Way. So a lot of different songs on this. But great album. If you're just now getting into Jackie Wilson, this is definitely a good start. I think if you like this, you should pretty much like most of his albums, at least his 50s and 60s albums, because they pretty much carried the same tune. Got the what was called R&B at the time, as well as a lot of different standards and him singing opera and things like that. So if you like this compilation, I think you should like his solo records if you want to dig more into that. So that's it, man. Jackie Wilson, like I said, I think the best singer pound for pound ever. But the album, but I said he's definitely a legend, definitely a pioneer in the industry. Like I said, most people in the industry own something to him. But definitely check this out, the Ultimate Jackie Wilson. You can pick it up, pretty much anywhere. But that's my review for today. Y'all have a nice night. Check you next time.